Okay, we continue in Shmuel Aleph, Perek Chaf, Pasuk Chaf. We discussed yesterday the idea of Rosh Chodesh again, how this is very uniquely connected to David, and they're trying to determine, David and Yonasan, if really what Shaul's true feelings about David. And Yonasan says, one second. Okay, so David says, I won't show up for the Rosh Chodesh meal, and we'll see how Shaul reacts, and then we'll know. But how is Yonasan going to communicate that message to David? So Yonasan says, well, tomorrow's Rosh Chodesh, we're going to see if you're absent or not. You go far away, and you hide near, in this field here, near the Even Azel, near the guidestone. Now Yonasan continues. Va'ani shloshes hachitzim sida orer. And I'll make a signal for you. I will shoot arrows. I will shoot 3 arrows to your side. In other words, not in your direction, as you'll see in a minute, because I'm going to have a young lad gathering them. And if they gather, I don't want them to see you. So you'll be near the guide stone. I will shoot the arrows to the side of the guide stone. L'shalach li l'matorah, to send it to a certain target. Okay, let's just do the next 2 psukim quickly, then we'll review the whole idea here. So now, of course, Yonasan is going to do a little more than that. Chafal v'hinei eshlach es hanar. I will have a young lad with me, and I will send the young lad to mitzvah sachitzim, to find the arrows. V'im omar lanar. Now I'm going to shoot the arrows in a particular way that I want to send them. Now, and I'm going to send the young lad for them. I'm going to send him out into the field, and then I'm going to shoot the arrow. And they omar lanar. If I will say to the young lad, hine hachitzim mimcha v'heina. If I'm going to tell him that the arrows are from you towards here. In other words, come back. Kachenu vavo. Come back and get them. That's going to be a signal. Kishalom l'cha. There's peace for you. Ve'ein davor. And there's no problems. Chai Hashem, I swear by Hashem. In other words, obviously, the young lad will be already out there in the field, as it were, and Yonasan will shoot the arrows. So obviously he'll purposely shoot it not so far, if it's a good message, and he'll tell the young lad to come back, and then there's no problem. And if I say to the young lad in Chaf Beis, the arrows are from you and beyond and further, then you should know lech. And go. So then go, Hashem, because Hashem has sent you. In this way, I may never speak to you again, because we cannot risk anybody seeing me and you together anymore after this time. Because once Shaul will be upset with you, they may be following me, whatever. So I can only pretend like I'm doing target practice. And by showing that I'm doing target practice, then you'll get the message and you'll understand. Pasuk Chav Gimel, V'adavar asher dibarnu ani v'ata, and the words that we have spoken, me and you have spoken now, our covenant. Hine Hashem beini ubein charelam. Hashem is between us and between me and between you and between me and between you forever. So we'll come back to the 3 arrows in 1 minute, but the Malbim says that Yonasan is making very precise instructions, so there's no miscommunication here. Let's go back and review Pasuk Chaf Aleph, just some ideas. He would give 2 simonim. Now if you notice carefully, in Pasuk Chaf Aleph, what does he call the young lad? A nar. In Pasuk Chaf Beis, he calls him an elem. Lo elem. You have such an expression, alma. There is an expression of calling a young lad as well. So why is there a switch in that? So the Malbim says he was making 2 simonim. Number 1 was if he's going to say that you have to go Hena means coming here, versus Hola over there, further. Hena is come back here, versus going to tell him to go further away. If he says Hena, come back here, that's a sign that you should come here back, David. If I say it's further, that means it's a sign. So just like the young lad has to run further to get it, so you're going to have to run further away. So also, what's he going to call the young lad? Is he going to say to him, Nar, go get it? Or Elam, go further? And there's difference in nuances in the word Nar and Elam, even though they both mean a lad, because a Nar, if he calls him a Nar, it means you don't need a lot of effort. You don't have to have a lot of alacrity to find the arrows, because they're closer. I mean, you're coming back in. Mm-hmm. And a Nar is usually one that doesn't have that kind of alacrity. And so that'll be a sign for David that you don't have to rush and run so fast. And truthfully, then I can even you can even come out of hiding, and I can see you right then and there. A Nar represents a young lad, but not necessarily one that has to move very fast. But if I shoot the arrows beyond, then I will call him an Elam. And that means he has to move quickly. And that means you have to move quickly and go very fast. And therefore you have to be careful not to reveal yourself either. So you have to be very careful. So it comes out like this. Now, so in other words, there's two ways to describe a youth. A Nar is one where, as a Nar, it's usually, although it's a little problematic, I don't know how he's going to fit every time when we use the word Nar. But it kind of says a Nar, that there's youth who, there's different kinds of youth. There's youth who are lazy, and there's youth who got a lot of youth that can do things very fast. So I guess Nar is more of the negative term for youth, and Elam is more the positive one. Now, although we said before that there's 4 possibilities in Shaul's response, either clearly negative, clearly positive, or very unclear. So we only have 2 methods of me telling you. So just in other words, just like if he asks and he's happy, that's like 2 positive. That makes it clear. In other words, you need 2 aspects to make it positive. Shaul asks and he says it's fine, or Shaul asks and he says it's bad. The other ones we're not sure. So therefore, I'm going to give you 2 signs if it's good. I'm going to tell him to come close. I'm going to call him a Nar. And I'm going to give you 2 signs if it's bad. I'm going to say it's far, and I'm going to call him an Elam. The other 2 possibilities, it's not clear what he's going to tell him. And I guess he's going to, if it's Malbim says, if it's not clear, he's only going to tell him one of the signs. He's either going to shoot the arrow close, but not call him a Nar, or call him an Elam, or shoot the arrow far and not call him a Nar. In other words, just like there's 2 simanim in the arrows. You understand what I'm saying? Either going to shoot the arrow close or far, and what he calls the young lad. So just like for me to be sure that Shaul really has bad intentions or really good, I need 2. Just like you need two witnesses, so to speak. We need to have 2 points. Shaul's going to say, number 1, he's going to ask about you and say it's good, or he's going to ask about you and say it's bad. If he doesn't ask about you, or he asks about you, doesn't comment, then I'm not sure. So how am I going to convey to you if I'm not sure? Well, I will only use 1 siman myself. I'll either shoot it close and I'll call him an Elam, or I'll shoot it far and I'll call him a Nar. And therefore you'll also know it's not clear, and if it's not clear, I assume that you won't come and we won't talk to each other anymore, because there's too much of a doubt if anything bad is going to happen. It's all a very strange way. Now obviously, Yonasan had no other recourse. He couldn't send messengers to David. Now, if things are good, then it's not a problem, but he had to always assume it could be a bad. So if it's bad, there's no way I can send somebody to you, because then that person's you'll see shortly, and another reason why, you'll see momentarily. But, it's got to be done in great secrecy. The only way it can be done properly in great secrecy is with this maneuver of shooting the arrows, and no one knows that I'm talking to you. And that's what. Now, why does it have to be with arrows? Why do we have to have 3 arrows? So the Malbim brings down beautifully, based on a Gemara and Eruvin. And the way the Malbim says this will help explain a few ideas. It's a very short Malbim. He says in Pasuk Chaf, the 3 arrows, he says, Humalitza a Lashon Hara. This is an analogy, a metaphor for Lashon Hara. Shenikra Chetz Baksuvim. In the Torah texts, Lashon Hara is referred to as an arrow. Right? V'nikra Lishna Tilsoi. It's called a triple language. What does it mean? Shahirik Shloishe kills 3 people. Kedivrei Chazal Be'erchen. As the Gemara in Erchin says, Lashon Hara kills the one who says the Lashon Hara, the one who listens to the Lashon Hara, and the one whom the Lashon Hara is spoken about. It kills 3 people. And therefore, 3 arrows are clearly saying that there's 3 people who get hurt from Lashon Hara, and the arrow itself is like Lashon Hara. And now the Malbim adds one little knech, which I think is very helpful. Ratzaloimer b'simen zeh, meaning to say, with this sign, yisbar lecha, will be clear to you, ma pa'alu chatzei hamalshinim b'leiv shol. You'll know if the actions of the malshils, what's the malshils? What's the English word for malshil? Traitors. That's a better word. Betrayers. Like we say, v'la malshinim in our Shmon Esrei, the ones who are betraying Klal Yisrael.
Tailbearers.
I don't know. No, malshil means you tell on a person to the government. When Jews weren't allowed to learn. Informers. And what's an informer? That's the biggest Lashon Hara in the world. The Romans say you're not allowed to learn Torah, and a Jew goes to Rome and says, hey, Rabbi Akiva is learning Torah. That's the worst Lashon Hara imagined. Being a malshin is the worst Lashon Hara, informing people of things. So we'll see how he says, we'll see how effective the informers were to the heart of Shaul. So, what do you see from this Malbim? That Yonasan is saying, if my father is acting so crazy against you, it can't just be stam. No, with everything he's done, that maybe he's made his mistakes in being a king. But for him to want to kill you, had to be someone speaking some good Lashon Hara about you. And we just need to know how far has the Lashon Hara penetrated into my father's heart. He would never do it on his own. It's got to be somebody talking Lashon Hara. And we've already seen, hinted to in the text. Remember, Lashon Hara isn't something, we have 2 times Doeg, who we will see in the next chapter. I don't know if we'll get to him this week, but we'll get to him very soon. Doeg HaAdomi, who is one of Shaul's generals, advisors, he has spoken twice Lashon Hara to David. Do you guys remember what it was?
Yeah, he said all these wonderful things.
First, when they were looking for the person who's going to be able to play the instrument, so it's Doeg the one who finds David, and and from the words it looks very nice. He's a warrior. He's good. He's God-fearing. Hashem is with him. Blah blah blah. And the rabbis say that is avak Lashon Hara. That's the dust of Lashon Hara. You never tell a person the virtues of another one, especially if that person can be interpreted as some kind of rival. You don't get up publicly and praise people excessively. That's halacha. You're not allowed to praise people excessively. Why? Because other people hearing will say, nah, it's not that good as you say, it can't be that good. And just people get upset. You don't mean anything bad by it at all. But if you praise people excessively, okay, we're not talking about it, somebody's Sheva Brachas. And even then, it says, you got to be careful, because there are people who don't like hearing praises about other people. And therefore, they'll come back and think of all kinds of reasons to say, well, the guy's not that great. And especially if you're doing it in front of people who would have a reason to be jealous of that person. So,
the problem is causing Lashon Hara.
Well, you're speaking Lashon Hara.
Well, you're praising the guy, but the other
it's going to cause ill will.
Yeah.
It could either bring people to overtly speak Lashon Hara, or even not that. It's just, in other words, Shaul, he's already, the godly spirit has left him already. So he's already in a sort of whatever depressed state you want to say he's in. And Doeg, who we'll see, is a very clever man. I mean, you don't even know Doeg exists yet till the next parak. Right? He's a very clever man. He's an extremely big scholar. So he reads the political landscape very well. And he sees there's this David who's an up and coming guy. And frankly, he may feel it's not in Shaul's interest that David should become popular, because right now Doeg is the popular one. So he's trying to get away for Shaul to get upset at David. So how does he do that? He goes and says, listen, we'll bring him to become the guy to play the music for him. But he praises him to the hilt. And that already starts to penetrate Shaul. And it worked as far as Doeg was concerned, because Shaul tried twice to kill him while he's playing the music. So that was time number one. What was the second Lashon Hara? Second Lashon Hara when David was ready to fight Goliath, then Shaul all of a sudden starts asking questions about David's lineage and this and that. What's he asking the lineage for? He says, well, maybe he's not even Jewish. Who brought that up? That was Doeg. And Doeg had all kinds of questions. Says, what are you talking about? It's still not the whole discussion. Moavi v'lo Moavis, that a Moabite cannot enter. Could a female Moabite enter? There's a whole Gemara that I didn't bring you, but there was all kinds of halachic discussion. And basically, Doeg was the one who was saying, I don't think he's Jewish. I don't think he's Jewish. Well, now remember who you're talking about. You're talking about the son of Yishai. And it's been a family of two generations, 3 generations, complete tzaddikim. Oved, Yishai, 7 sons of Yishai, they're all tzaddikim. If Boaz and Ruth would have been a forbidden union, you wouldn't expect to see 3 generations of tzaddikim. But comes along, Yishai for himself can be machmir, but others aren't allowed to. Others aren't allowed to cast disparaging remarks. Boaz decided that's halacha. Once a bezin paskin is halacha, what do you bring it back for? And Doeg's bringing it back because he's a brilliant scholar through his scholarship. He's saying, what do you mean? And then there's a whole discussion until somebody else came along and quieted it down. But then again, so you see twice, and you don't see it in the text. This is very important. In other words, Malbim is picking up on a lot. You look at the text, you don't see one word of Lashon Hara. You don't see it. I mean, it's just, it's just interest. Listen, is he worthy of being a Jew? Even that's not written in the text. That's just Chazal draw it out of the text. From the text alone, it doesn't appear to be so harmful. That shows you how clever Doeg was, and that's usually how Lashon Hara works. Lashon Hara, no one ever goes out in the open usually and says Lashon Hara is behind your back, right? It's all behind the scenes. So Yonasan understood that if his father is so much after David, and there's nothing wrong with David, it means somebody's working the crowd, spreading not necessarily even lies, but even more clever, just picking up what's there and using the information that's there, manipulating it in a way to turn Shaul against David. That's how it can get people to think so badly about other people. He had no business saying these things, and he did. So Shaul said, we have to know how deeply is this penetrating this Lashon Hara upon my father. So even if the result is that Shaul wants to kill you, you should know, okay, listen, it's not exonerating Shaul. It's not saying Shaul's not responsible for what he's doing. But, if you're depressed and somebody's talking Lashon Hara to make things work out better for you, it's a real easy thing to take. And more than that, what kind of people? You learn a lot of things about Lashon Hara from here. First of all, you have to be a clever person to speak this kind of Lashon Hara. Okay, you got to be clever to speak Lashon Hara this way. And more than that, which kinds of people listen to Lashon Hara? People who aren't very healthy. People who are threatened are the people who listen to Lashon Hara. And one other point, I mentioned it yesterday, we talked about in the after davening, the short Torah, about the Lashon Hara. Very interesting. Shaul is from Binyamin, which is connected to Yosef. It's all connected to Yosef, right? So we mentioned yesterday, just to briefly review, in this week's Parsha, when we talk about the the spy who came from Menashe, it says L'matei Yosef, L'matei Menashe. From the tribe of Yosef, the tribe of Menashe, this is the spy. Usually, Ephraim and Menashe both are connected to Yosef, and when you have countings of tribes, it says L'matei Yosef for the tribe of Yosef, and then it says L'matei Ephraim, L'matei Menashe. Always Ephraim is mentioned before Menashe, and always mentioned the two together connected to Yosef. Here by the tribes, the spy of Ephraim is who? Yehoshua. And he's mentioned separately, L'matei Ephraim Hoshea Binun, and then a few psukim later, L'matei Yosef, L'matei Menashe, who the spy was. So first of all, you see Yosef is not connected at all to Ephraim, and he's connected directly to Menashe. So the Das HaKedim asks that question. Das HaKedim answers, you see how great is the influence of Lashon Hara. Yosef spoke Lashon Hara about his brothers, and now you're going to have massive Lashon Hara with the spies, and therefore, if you're going to have to say, the son from the tribe of Menashe is the one who is speaking Lashon Hara. So who is that? We have to attribute it to Yosef. L'matei Yosef, L'matei Menashe. So Menashe was the one who from the spy from Menashe falls to the Lashon Hara, must be attributed to Yosef, because Yosef is one who spoke Lashon Hara. So therefore, the Nasi Menashe speaks Lashon Hara is affected by that. So you see, what a parent says affects the children. Now it's interesting. The Rav Zilberstein, this I did not mention yesterday, he says, how terrible is the sin of Lashon Hara? He says, even if the speaker of the Lashon Hara would try to follow the trail left by his words and convince all those who heard them that he was mistaken in speaking against the other person, he can never completely eradicate the negative impression he made when he spoke. He says, once a person hears that someone is untrustworthy or has some sort of other flaw, it is very difficult to convince him otherwise.
The jury will disregard the comments.
Yes, right. The jury will disregard the comments. Right? And then he brings a pasuk in Tehillim. David HaMelech knew it better than anybody else. Here's the pasuk he brings. Chitzei gibor shinunim, the sharp arrows of the mighty, im gachale resamim, with coals of ratam wood, type of wood. So first of all, you see chitzei, you see the arrows. Yeah. But now you see another thing, while we're on the topic, gachale resamim, a type of wood called ratam wood. So the Midrash explains. So again, you see the arrow. Again, the arrow, there's many reasons why you can connect that to Lashon Hara. Simplest answer is, a sword or a gun let's keep it a sword. That's the simple way. Can only kill, in close contact. Only kill in close contact. An arrow can kill from a great distance. Lashon Hara can kill people. You can be one side of the world. The person on the other side of the world, you can kill somebody, depending on how far you shoot that arrow, right? So that's clearly, how Lashon Hara works. But now he's adding this idea of the coals of ratam wood. What's ratam wood? So the Medrash says that ratam wood is a type of wood that burns for a very long time. It doesn't go out so long. Medrash tells a story of a father and a son who were traveling through the forest, and they lit a bonfire with ratam wood. A year later, when they returned home, they passed through the same forest and saw the fire was still burning. So the Alshich explains that the verse and the Medrash, what are they teaching us? Teaching us that a person shouldn't delude himself into thinking that he can uproot the evil words he spoke about another person. Nor should he think that the listener will forget those words on his own. There's once you say Lashon Hara, it's the arrow. The arrow is how far the damage can be done, but the ratam wood that burns shows you how long lasting the Lashon Hara is there. So Rav Silberstein says, take an example. Let's say Reuven tells Shimon that Levi is lazy. Reuven tells Shimon that Levi is lazy. That's clear Lashon Hara he's saying about Levi. He's telling Shimon that Levi is lazy. Okay. Now, for the next decade, Shimon sees Levi conducting himself in a way that's not lazy. Because the truth is, it's not true. Levi is not lazy. or maybe he was once lazy, but he's usually not lazy. But anyway, Reuven told Shimon that Levi's lazy. So he's looking at Levi all the time, looking for laziness. Doesn't see any laziness. Then once he notices doing something that could have been interpreted as a sign of laziness. And that happens, he immediately recalls the words of Reuven regarding Levi being lazy, and he determines that description was a very apt description of Levi. Right? Now, even though Reuven's words are totally unsubstantiated, those words lingered in Shimon's mind for 10 years. Right? So that's the same idea with the Lashon Hara that Yosef spoke. It could have effect on his descendants that you say certain things. It has such a long impact. So obviously, Shaul has been affected. So it's unbelievable. This is a big insight now. Like, it's not stam. Shaul was a tzaddik. It's very hard to take a tzaddik down. We've already discussed at length what the Yetzer had to do to convince Shaul that it was best to not kill out Amalek. He had to do a lot to get him to make that error. And Imamish had to put it incredibly difficult to see tzaddikim coming from future generations. All the things we spoke about. To get a tzaddik down, it takes a lot. And even then, he was still a way out. But Hashem makes it, the tshuva is difficult. So there's one more aspect to making the tshuva difficult. He already sees that he's lost that great spirit of kedusha. It's gone. And he sees this other whippersnapper has it. And on top of that, you got the clever doeg just plying through that Lashon Hara in a way to get Shaul to see he is my enemy. He wants to rebel against me. So you see, Lashon Hara could take that David only cares about the king. It's all he cares about the king, and Shaul can only see David as his nemesis. It's not, Malbim is saying it's not shaykh for a person to be so crazy unless you hear the Lashon Hara. That's what the Lashon Hara is able to do. And you'll see, it doesn't end. Shaul now, is now he's finished. He is now a slave to, and Doeg, remember, Doeg is not coming by as Russia. Hi, I'm Doeg the Russia, listen to my Lashon Hara. Doeg is a Talmud Chacham. He's one of the greatest Talmidei Chacham of the generation. We'll talk about Doeg probably tomorrow in great detail. We'll see what Rav Tzadok has to say about Doeg. But Doeg is using his wisdom in a not bad way. So what do you think if a Talmud Chacham tells you Lashon Hara? Isn't it going to even be more believable? It's not stam. Okay, a Rasha tells Lashon Hara, it's also believable, unfortunately. But okay, if a Rasha tells you maybe because, he's a liar, he's a bum, why should I listen to him? If a politician says Lashon Hara about another politician, nobody even believes it. Because, he's got an axe to grind, right? But comes along a Talmud Chacham who has his own spiritual problems, right? He has his own spiritual problems. He comes across as a pious Jew, and then he's saying Lashon Hara about good people, and there's something there. Oh, look how good he is. Look how successful he is. I don't really know if he's really worthy to be a king, because I don't even know if he's Jewish. This and that. It's all coming across from a very spiritual frame of mind. But you see, that's the Lashon Hara that's working into Shaul. That's the only way Shaul could have made such a mistake. And Yonasan knew it, and that's how he's telling David. So David, understands he wants to kill me. It's not pure out and out, Shaul just in the middle of the blue decide to hate David. There's a lot of factors, and Hashem is making Shaul. If you want to do tshuva Shaul for what you've done, it's going to be really hard. You now got Doeg speaking bad about David. So already you have a time. Shaul said, I don't know. Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm the only one that's not normal. But if other people would think he's normal, maybe I have to agree. But he's saying that even Doeg says there's something wrong with David. So it just proves his point. He's looking for support, and he's got support. So that's the undoing over here.
The driving factor behind Shaul's anger or jealousy, the fact that David was so successful militarily, and the Lashon Hara is there, but that's not the main reason.
There is already jealousy. So if you're jealous of somebody and you hear Lashon Hara, you're going to be makabel a lot faster, aren't you?
But it was the military success that's really...
It gives the jealousy, but what would be the right to kill him?
Because he sees that people want him to be king.
Shaul's not that low. Okay, yeah, right. He's not that low. he's got the feeling that there has to be a legitimate reason why he has to kill him, and it can't be just for his selfish needs. Okay, he feels he's the king. He's having trouble handling losing his power, right? But when you got somebody speaking Lashon Hara about David, then that's already saying, okay, maybe I should be replaced, but not by him. But not by him. What if, again, there's a fine line between being a David and an Esav. It's a very fine line. Right? They were both called Red. Right? Both called Edmoni. Both called Red. Both had very similar personality types. And we know about the only two main differences that Esav was a complete faker, but played up as being a righteous person, right? And Esav indeed was a Rasha, and David wasn't. But David on the surface didn't look any different than an Esav. Even in personality, they were very similar. Very emotional people, very into the physical world, enjoying the physical world, right? Very violent. Can you imagine if Esav was your general? Now remember, Shaul knows his Chumash. He knows the story of Esav. He knows that there are Esavs around trying to destroy Klal Yisrael, right? So he, as great as David is militarily, he can start saying, yeah, but I see he's, first of all, I don't even know if he's so Jewish. He comes from Moabite stock. That's going to rear its ugly head somewhere or ever, right? And when he's hearing the Lashon Hara from Doeg, so he's saying, he's just doing that all just to usurp my throne. That's all. When he usurps my throne, who knows what he's going to do? And he was a very different personality, and that's another reason why Shaul was suspected. So it should be a guy who's more humble and this and that, so therefore, it all builds the case. It's not one thing. It's never one thing. It's a number of things here, but clearly, what you're learning from these psukim, the Lashon Hara seals the deal.
Okay.
And that's what Yonasan is saying over here.
Another question, I can understand if you're shooting the arrows, you can see from a distance if they're here or if they're there. But how can Jonathan expect David to hear what he calls the boy?
He's going to scream out. The boy himself.
It's not that far.
How far can you shoot an arrow? How far can you shoot an arrow already? How far? Remember, you have to remember, it's a field, there's no traffic.
That's right.
Right? It's a quiet field. Your voice can carry quite far. Listen, how is let's put it this way. Let's say Yonasan's shooting arrows, okay? Let's say here's the rock. So David's on the rock. He's going to shoot the arrow either here, or he's going to shoot the arrow here. Right? Now the lad is over here. The lad is over here, not over here. So, question is, how's the lad going to hear the instructions?
Well, I thought he would be,
No. So, obviously, Yonasan is screaming, saying a lot. When you speak loudly, you could be heard from one end of a field to another. I mean, how far does an arrow go already? It's not going miles. How far can an arrow go already? So that distance, if he said it loud enough that the young lad would hear it, and David is right behind the stone there. David's going to hear it as well.
I had heard that this took place in En-Gedi. Is there any truth to that? Does it say that anywhere?
I don't know.
That's what I had heard. On a tour in Israel, he said, this is where this happened.
I don't know. I'm not going to say yes, I'm not going to say no. I'd have to do further research. To me, it doesn't really matter. But
I'm just curious.
Yeah. Okay, moving on. Chav Dalet. So that's what he said to do. Vayishaser David basadeh. So David now hides in the field as he's instructed to. Vayhi hachodesh. Now it's Rosh Chodesh. Vayeshev hamelech el halechem lechol. So now it's Rosh Chodesh. The king is about to sit down and have a meal over bread. Interesting why they mention bread. Because before it said, David said to Yonasan, it's going to be Rosh Chodesh, and I'm going to be with the king to eat. So again, I'm sure there's all kinds of mystic stuff going on over here that I'm just not cluing into here. But he's coming to sit over the bread, to eat bread. And in other words, so Malbim explains, before David went to sit down, Shaul came in to sit down, Yonasan was sitting in David's place. Yonasan was sitting in David's place. Okay? And now it's Rosh Chodesh, and Shaul is going to sit down to have a meal. Chafei, Vayeshev HaMelech al Moshava. The king now sits down in his place, kipam b'pam, like he does all the time. And where's his place? El Moshe Vakir, the seat that's near the wall. I guess that's the esteemed part of the room. And when that happened, when he sat down, when David sat down, now remember, Yonasan was sitting in David's regular seat. So when Shaul comes in, he sits down. Where's he sitting? He's sitting down right next to Yonasan, because that's the seat. So at that point, Vayakom Yonasan now gets up to move over one. But somebody's got to sit next to the king. Vayeshev Avner mitzad Shaul. Avner, his general, sits down next to Shaul. Vayipaket makom David, and it is clearly known, recognized that David's spot is missing. That's because David always sat between Shaul and Yonasan, and now all of a sudden you see Yonasan getting up, Avner sitting down, David ain't around. So it was clearly noticed that David wasn't there. However, in Pasuk Chavav, V'lo diber Shaul milma b'yomahu, but Shaul didn't say anything. And they didn't say anything. Why? Ki Omar, he said, either to himself or whatever, he said, Mikru, simple translation means something happened, coincidence, something happened. We'll explain in a minute what. Who? Bilti Tahorhu. Maybe he's not pure. Kilo Tahor, because he's not pure. So okay, there's a whole discussion amongst the rabbis what was going through Shaul's mind at this time. So some learn simply something may have happened to him. Whatever, his horse broke down on the road, whatever. Sometimes something happens, guy can't make it. However, the other Meforshim, Malbim and others, say, from Mikra comes the word carry. Carry meaning to say he may have had an emission. He may have had a flow, came from his body. And that would make him bilti tahor. He would not be tahor now. He'd need to go to the mikvah. And they ate, especially at the royal table, they ate mundane food in a state of purity. So that's why he couldn't come. And look at the double expression. Bilti tahor, maybe he's not tahor, kilo tahor, because he's not tahor. What's he saying? Because he's not a tahor guy. The Gemara is, sometimes people have nocturnal emissions unconsciously because they're thinking about these kinds of stuff during the day. So he's not a Torah guy anyway, so of course you could expect him not to be here from this. The Ralbag takes a similar, but a little different. He says that, he probably, was with his wife often. And in those days, particularly if you're with your wife, you had to go to the mikvah. He's a dirty guy. He's just always having sex, and therefore he's always got to have to go to the mikvah. So he gave him Michal. Remember Michal? You were maybe wait.
Yeah, married to her.
Oh, yeah, he's married to Michal, and even if and that's probably what's going on over there. But so you see how he's thinking negatively about David. He's already thinking negatively about David for the fact he's not there. So there's no simon yet what's going on. Pasuk Chosayim. Now it's on the next day of the month of the second day. So it can be learned in two ways. Either it could mean the second day of the month. In other words, Rosh Chodesh was one day and now it's the second day of the month. Or as the Malbim says, no, it's the second day of Rosh Chodesh. And in those days, especially, you could have 2 days of Rosh Chodesh, because that when the moon was, the new moon was sanctified with witnesses. In other words, until we set the calendar permanently, you never knew what day Rosh Chodesh was going to be decided by the best. You know it's going to be one of 2 days. Always one of 2 days. You have to wait for the witnesses to come. So what did you do on the first day? Till they would come. Because they're not coming, you can't see the moon until the night of. Prior. So the witnesses can't come to court till the next day. So until word gets from Yerushalayim or wherever they're going to be right now, from the Bezdin, it's going to take time. So what do people do on the day you're not sure it's Rosh Chodesh? You have to conduct yourself as if it is Rosh Chodesh. So one of the things is you have your meal. You have a Rosh Chodesh meal. So the first day they had a Rosh Chodesh meal, and then sometime during the day they found out that it wasn't Rosh Chodesh, and Rosh Chodesh the second day. So that's what he's saying. So now it's the second day. Let's say it's the second day of Rosh Chodesh. And again, it's clear the place of David is missing. He's noticed that he's not there. Now Vayomer Shaul Yonasan Beno. Now Shaul says to Yonasan, Madua lo ba ben Yishai gam tumol gam hayom el halachem. Why has the son of Yishai not come yesterday or today for the bread? Right? So now he's already getting, he wants to know. So, Chavches. Vayan Yonasan es Shaul. Yonasan answered Shaul. Nishal David me'mitei ad beis lachem. You know, David asked of me to go to Beis Lechem. Interesting, again, he goes to Beis Lechem to not be the place where they're eating lechem. Again, we're getting a lot of lechem over here, and it's interesting. You're going to see in the next parak, we're going to have more about lechem. So hopefully by next week, Hashem will give me more insight. What's all this bread doing over here? But clearly, you know, you didn't have to say any of these words. You don't find this when David said what to do. What did he say? 1 second. A minute. Well, we'll go to Beis Lechem. Okay, but there's a lot of lechem over here. So he said he asked permission to go to Beis Lechem. Vayomer, he said, Shalcheni no, please send me. Ki zevach mishpacha lo ba'ir. There's a family offering happening in the city. V'utzivali achi, and my brother commanded me to come. So v'atoy matzosi chei beinecha. This is all what Yonasan is relating to Shaul. So he's saying, David said, if you find favor, if I found favor in your eyes, imolta no, allow me to. Now, imolta is a very strong word. Molat means to escape. Let me escape. I can see my brother. That's why he hasn't come to the king's table. The Malbim notes a few things over here. So he's trying to show how, you know, don't get upset at David, because it gives a number of factors. Number one, he asked permission. He asked me permission, I gave him permission. And the reason I gave him the permission is because it was a family simcha, and his older brother told him to do it. So you don't want to call Shalom Bayis problems. And he didn't even go to eat. He just said, I want to see my brothers. He's not going for the food. He's just going to fulfill a family obligation. It's a Shalom Bayis issue. I don't want him to have Shalom Bayis problems with his family. So I figured it's okay. Now this is exactly what's going to test Shaul out over here. And tomorrow we'll see Shaul's reaction.
One comment, when Shaul asked of David, he doesn't call him by his name. He says,
yes, very good, excellent. And the Reb Tzadok talks about it, and I'm waiting till we go to the Pasuk Lamed to bring about what Reb Tzadok says about this. Very important. You picked up well on that, and you'll see what Reb Tzadok has to say about that.